for psychological effect.
Good morning, class. I thought we'll go ahead and do a brief, really this is supposed to be a tutoring session, but I'll probably blend in a little bit of a lecture just to continue to go over some of the stuff from week 6, especially the third essay, which is your cause and effect essay. I'm going to show you an outline that I did about an hour ago that will probably relieve some of your stress and your tension maybe when it relates to this third essay that's going to be due coming up midterm week here in about 2.5 weeks or so. We will briefly look at the pronoun antecedent agreement sheet that I sent out yesterday via email. So if you have a chance to look at that, because quiz 2 is going to be coming up soon, about another week or so, and it's going to deal with the subject verb agreement concept and issues that we looked at last week, and it's going to look at the pronoun antecedent agreement that we're looking at for this week. So basically quiz 2 is going to be sort of like quiz 1. You're going to have 30 minutes once you hit begin. It's going to be one paragraph, and it wants you to correct any subject verb agreement problems and any pronoun antecedent agreement problems you may have in that paragraph. So just keep that in mind. It should be, I hope, because it's only one paragraph, a little easier maybe than the quiz 1. But otherwise, I still have essays left to grade in this class. I just finished up some for my other classes, and slowly but surely they're coming around. I'm giving grades on them. I did sort of glance at some of the ones that I got left in here, and it looks like some folks, I mean, when I sent out some of the feedback last week, right? Because when you uploaded your peer review stuff, I looked at that. I downloaded your draft, and I went through it and gave it some feedback. I put comments and some suggestions in the margin areas, and I sent that back to your Coastal Pines email account. And it looks like, some students just didn't even download that file that I sent back to correct the stuff I told you to sort of correct to get a better grade, and or they didn't really take their partner's comments to heart, because a lot of those peer review comments from your classmates were really spot on and could have helped areas in your essay and improve that grade. So the whole reason that we do the peer reviews is to help each other not only improve the quality of the writing, but ultimately we hope that you take our comments, our feedback, our suggestions to heart, and always obviously use smart thinking as well, and revise your essay to the point where you can get a better grade. Some of y'all that did that should reap the rewards and get a really high grade on essay 2. Those that didn't do that, or ran out of time or whatever the case may be, because you did have a good 2.5, nearly 3 weeks to finish this one as well, then your grade is not going to be so well. It may not be as well as essay 1. It may be around the same, because if you're making the same mistakes and not sending multiple drafts to smart thinking, to me, not getting help from these peer reviews from your peers, then your grade is never really going to improve. It's always either going to stay around the same or get lower. So just be mindful of that. We probably won't have time necessarily, like I said in my earlier lecture video, to have a sort of like a class peer review for essay 3, just because there's a lot to do, that's going to be due that week. I think that second quiz is due on Sunday, October 10th. And then you got about 4 or 5 days later, October 14th, which is a Thursday, essay 3 is going to be due. So that's not to say that you can't continue to send me drafts of essay 3, to continue to send drafts to Smart Thinking, I strongly suggest that if you're not sending drafts or if you're not using Smart Thinking, that you start doing so if you want to see really any improvement, not only in your writing, but in your overall grade. Because that same week, basically on that Thursday, the 14th, I have to send in your midterm grades, which is basically your second grade checkpoint. So again, if you are not passing the class by the 14th, chances are you're going to get email, snail mail, phone calls. You probably want to do a little bit of soul searching, not just for this class, but your other classes, because really that's our halfway mark. It basically tells us and tells you that we've been in the fall semester for 2 months, and we only have about 7 weeks after that, and it's over. So if your grade is really sort of in the low F range, let's see who this is. Hello? Dealer services. Bunch of crap. So just keep that in mind, because whatever class that you're taking through the college, you're going to have a midterm grade. And if your grades are low in other classes, then you may want to do a little bit of soul searching to think, hey, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull it up in the next 2 months to a 70 or higher. So maybe I should withdraw or drop the course and take it where I'm a little bit more focused. Most of these core classes we do offer yearly, meaning we offer in the fall, the spring, and the summer. Keep in mind, fall and spring are usually 15 to 16 weeks in length. We do have sort of mini sessions where they're 8 weeks and 8 weeks long. Sometimes we may have like a mini semester, which is like 4 weeks, which is basically a month. Summer semester is usually 10 weeks in length. So just keep that in mind. The other thing, though, that you might want to keep in mind is be careful of how many that you do withdraw or drop, because that's just going to delay the process of you graduating. Because they may offer English and math basically at the same time, and you have to sort of pick and choose one semester or something. So you want to be careful in not dropping too many too quickly. It does sort of have it will have an impact on financial aid at some point, especially if you're dropping a lot. If you're dropping something every semester, it doesn't really look good. So just be mindful, talk to your advisor. Again, at this point, I can't physically drop you until you request it. So either you're going to have to come to the office, you're going to have to phone call me, you're going to have to email me and say, hey, I have a lot going on this semester in my life. I'm requesting to drop. If you're a dual enrollment student, a high school student taking college classes, then you're going to have to go through, you can still send me the email, but you're going to have to go through first your high school coordinator, because they are the high school coordinators are the ones that can only sort of withdraw or drop dual enrollment students. Otherwise, if you don't send that request and you really need to drop or withdraw, but you don't send me anything, then, that grade is still going to probably decrease because you're not turning anything in. So your zero is going to stay a zero. And since you didn't personally request it, meaning it's given power back into the student's hands to actually go out and make the effort to withdraw from something, then when it comes December 14th or 15th, when the final checkpoint, the official grade checkpoint goes in, because you didn't say you needed to withdraw or wanted to withdraw, then that F is going to stay, and that's definitely going to hurt your financial aid moving forward. So, there's a lot of different reasons why folks would want to withdraw. It doesn't really look negatively on you. I understand it. There's times I've had to withdraw from classes too when I was going to college. Life happens. But you just don't want to, stay in the course if you're meaning to withdraw and, you still have financial aid that you're sort of hoping on for the spring and the summer. You just want to go out and make the effort to actually remove and withdraw yourself. So you may have to go to the college register and have them physically remove you from the class. or you have to go to your high school coordinator and have them physically remove you from the class. Again, you want to kind of let me know. Um, but if you don't, the grade is going to continue to ride until the end of the semester. Hopefully, you know, some of these grades, if you're not so happy with your grade at this point, hopefully this Essay 3 and this Quiz 2 will start bringing that up a little bit. The other thing is I want to mention, and I might have mentioned this in an email or a previous video, is that on Monday and Wednesday mornings, basically 10:15 to 11:15, I'm in the Camden campus library for a in-person tutoring session. So if you're in Camden or close by and you would benefit more for an in-person, maybe a one-on-one tutoring session, then just let me know and we can set that up. I've had one student come yesterday, and I think that was pretty much a pretty good success because we talked a little bit about what we're going to talk about here, which is Essay 3. So just let me know. You still have to sort of follow the protocols for COVID. You'd want to come with a mask, and we can remain the 6 feet distance apart if need be. We have study rooms and that type deal. Just bring your work or bring whatever questions that you have. Laptop, we have computers there, but if you like the whole idea of having a one-on-one in-person session, and that's for you, then that's probably what I would try to at least schedule. And you don't have to stay the whole 1 hour, right? You can stay long enough to get the questions answered that you need to get answered, and then you can, bolt. But you can stay the whole hour if you need to as well. So that's up to you. It's optional. Generally, those that do get help either through virtual tutoring, in-person tutoring, or smart thinking, generally get the better grades overall in the class. So keep that in mind as well. So the first thing I'm going to look at is this pronoun antecedent, and I'm going to go ahead and sort of share my screen here so we can see what everybody is looking at when they pull this thing up on their end from the email. So you should have this sheet. Again, you want to check your student email. And basically what pronoun antecedent agreement is, it says a pronoun must agree with its antecedent in number, gender, and person. An antecedent is the noun or pronoun that a pronoun refers to or replaces. So in a lot of ways, some of the same rules that applied to subject-verb agreement last week also sort of apply to pronoun antecedent agreement. The only difference is we're dealing with nouns and pronouns here instead of verbs. So if you look, it says one of the first rules is agreement in number. If the antecedent is singular, use a singular pronoun. If it is plural, use a plural pronoun. So as you can tell here, because the dollhouse is almost 300 years old, it is historically important. Notice, dollhouse is singular. There's only one. It's our noun in this particular sentence. Its antecedent is it, because a dollhouse doesn't really have a male or female gender, so it becomes a neutral gender, and we use the neutral gender pronoun it in this case. If you look at the sentence below it, the furnishings are noticeably different from their modern counterparts. Again, we have a plural pronoun. And just like the rule said, if you have a plural pronoun, then your antecedent needs to be plural. That's why we have there. Remember, there are 2 different kinds of the word there. One is THERE, which some of y'all have been using in your essays incorrectly because it's more or less an adverb. You need to use the pronoun version of it, which is spelled here, THEIR. So make sure that when you're using there, that you're using the correct form, because even if you spell it correctly on Microsoft Word, it's not going to tell you whether you're using the right form or not because it's spelled correctly. You're just going to have to use your own head to sort of decide whether you need the pronoun or you need the adverb. Compound subjects. A plural pronoun is used to refer to nouns and pronouns joined by and. So if you look here, we got 2 subjects joined by and, chest and dresser. So the tiny chest and dresser still have their original hardware. So again, because we're joining two compound subjects with that conjunction and, we have to use the plural antecedent here, in this case, there. Pronouns that refer to nouns or pronouns joined by or nor should agree with the noun or pronoun nearest to it. So look at this particular sentence. Neither the astronauts nor NASA neglect its duty. Because NASA is technically a singular, that's why we go with the singular pronoun its here. If you flipped it and put astronauts where NASA was, because astronauts has more than one, in this case, we have to use the plural pronoun here, there. Collective nouns, a collective noun such as class, crew, team, audience, or family may be referred to by either a singular or plural pronoun, depending upon the meaning of the noun in the sentence. A pronoun that refers to a collective noun should be singular if the collective noun names a group acting as a unit. So if you look at this particular sentence, the family that owns the house loaned its treasure to the library. The family is acting as a single unit, so that's why it's singular. Even though there could be groups that make up that family, it's still acting as a collective noun, and that's why it is acting as a singular unit. If you look at the other exception, a pronoun that refers to a collective noun should be plural if the collective noun names the members or parts of a group acting individually. So the family wanted their friends to see the house. So if you look here, the family is acting as a plural noun because the family members are acting individually by their antecedent there, using the word there, right? Using that pronoun. A little tricky, but the same deal is, like I said, collective nouns with subject-verb agreement as well. Probably what you'd want to do, and I think I showed this in a previous video, or at least talked about it at some point, is for collective nouns, indefinite pronouns, indefinite, articles, that type stuff, do a Google search, because there's a lot more than just this list that they're going to show you on this particular handout and also in your e-text. All right, so moving along, they talk about gender and person. The gender of the pronoun masculine, he, his, and him, and then you have feminine, she, her, and hers, or neuter or neutral, it and it. Must be same as the gender of its antecedent. The pronoun or the person, first, second, or third of the pronoun also must agree with the person of its antecedent. So basically, like where it says here, it gives you 3 examples. You would be proud to see your work appreciated by future generations. So you and you are both second person. Any artist would like his or her creation to last for hundreds of years. Because any artist could be either male or female, that's why you have to break it up and use his or her in this case. Can't just say his, and you just can't say her, because the way they look at it now in modern, the modern day, modern language is, if you just use one pronoun and not both, you're sort of being sexist in your language. So you want to be careful of that. The same thing with an astronaut conducts his or her, because again, in these days and times, an astronaut, just like a doctor, just like a firefighter, just like a police officer, can be a male or a female. So that's why you have to use his or her, experiments during the flight. Use the or. Don't put a slash, his, her, slash, her. Use or, right? Because again, we're talking about sophisticated, academic, professional, formal writing here. If doing something informal, doing a text message or something on Facebook, then knock yourself out and put that backslash in there. But when we're writing essays, when you're doing drafts, you want to make it as formal as possible. So use the or instead of that slash. It says you can often avoid the awkward he or she construction by making both the pronoun and its antecedent plural. Notice that you may also need to change the verb to a plural form. So here, if you want to avoid having a lot of this his and her or he or she throughout your paragraphs and throughout your essay, then just make them both plural. But you may have to change that verb tense. Artists would like their, notice, plural, creation to last for hundreds of years. Astronauts conduct their experiments through the flight. So if you look here, because we used the one, we had the subject-verb agreement going on. Singular subject, singular verb, but since we made it plural, we have plural verb, plural subject, or plural subject, plural verb, and then, again, the plural pronoun antecedent. So if you look here, this basically gives you some exercises. I'm not going to go through all of these here. If you want to use this as a study guide, knock yourself out, because your book only gives you so many examples and exercises to practice. If you want to send me, your results to see if you're doing this correctly, if you're in the right track, then just let me know where you're getting your sentence from and which number it is so I can check it. Here it gives you sort of a choice, and there might be an answer key to this. I'm not sure, so I'm going to check just to make sure. Gives you sort of a practice with a paragraph. This would probably be, because this is what your actual quiz 2 is going to be, looking like, similar to. The only other issue with that's not on here would be verb, your subject verb agreement. So, but this would be a really good study. If you're going to study anything off this sheet, this would be the paragraph I would study. They talk about indefinite pronouns as antecedents. Again, we looked at this with subject verb agreement. These in this particular box are always singular. These are always plural. These can be singular or plural. So again, anytime you see boxes, not only in your handouts or in your e-text, pay special attention to those, because they're going to be helpful. As you can tell here, each of the car has its sponsor's name painted on it, because it's going by always singular. Here's each, so it has to be its. Use a plural pronoun to refer to a plural indefinite pronoun. So many of the cars are in their first race. So right here, always plural, there's many. Some indefinite pronouns can be singular or plural. Use the meaning of the sentence to determine whether the indefinite pronoun is singular or plural. So if you look here, some of the equipment was still packed in its container, singular, because we're dealing with equipment, which is, in this case, just one item. Some of the race teams were still looking for their equipment. Notice teams, more than one team. That's why you use the their antecedent pronoun. Gives you some exercises again, gives you a choice. Here's another paragraph. This would probably be a really good one to kind of use. This one also may be really good because it talks about if you have to make your subject and verbs agree, you may have to do that as well. So this might be even a better paragraph to use as a study guide. Again, this stuff is optional. I'm not going to give you a grade whether you do these exercises or not. It's just there to help you study for that next quiz. If you didn't do so well on quiz 1, then I would definitely study for quiz 2 to pull that quiz grade up. Because otherwise, 10%, because the peer reviews are also worth 10% of your grade. So as we get closer to December, if you haven't been doing well on the peer reviews, meaning you're only turning half of it in and not going back and doing those peer review questions, or if you're just not studying or doing really well in the quizzes, then that 10% is going to be the make or break between that A and B, that B and C, that C and D, and so forth, because 10% is 10 points. And that particular weekly assignment grade is going to start stabilizing as we get closer to the end of November. Because after quiz 2, we're really only going to have, I think, 3 more quizzes left. And we may have a couple more peer review sessions. But we're slowly getting into, I think we have one more sort of shorter essay after essay 3, which will be due sort of toward the end of October. And then we're using the whole month of basically the rest of the semester to deal with your research paper project and the proposal and the annotated bibs that are part of that particular project. So November is going to be really heavily built on and around research. At some point, probably toward the end of October, we're going to have a virtual library orientation where we're going to have a librarian from the Camden campus come to either a Teams meeting or this Blackboard Collaborate and sort of go through the process of using library resources, such as how to check out a book, how to find scholarly books, scholarly journal articles, how to look, for stuff on Galileo and various other databases, because you really don't want to use just Google and the internet for your research paper. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that because that one is a real big chunk of your grade. All three components there will really make and break the last part of your grade in the class. Because I think it's about 20 or 25. I had to double check, but it's on your syllabus if you go back and look. I think it's either 20 or 25% of your overall grade. So if you look at that, that's like 2-letter grades or nearly 3-letter grades that November is sort of going to be based around. We still have that ProctorU final exam, which will happen pretty much that last week or so in December. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But if you had any online courses from Coastal Pines in the past, you've used ProctorU, you should already have, if you used a ProctorU account before, then everything should be good to go for you. You just want to make sure that your password still is up to date and works. If you're new to ProctorU, we will give you handouts and information on how to go about setting yours up. It's free, but every online course that you take from this particular college, there's one ProctorU event, whether it's a test, a quiz, a timed essay, a midterm, a final. You have to be proctored in that particular setting. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. You're going to have a web mic and a webcam. So as it gets closer to, we'll probably talk a lot more about the ProctorU final exam before Thanksgiving break. So just be on the outlook for emails and uploads in your weekly folders that talk a little bit more about the ProctorU thing as we get closer. I will tell you, it will be a 60-minute timed essay. You will have to type for 60 minutes on a particular topic. I will give you the topic weeks in advance, so you can go ahead and use outlines and note cards and notes to deal with the actual essay for the final. Though, you can't come in with a already rough draft written. You're going to have to sit there for 60 minutes and type on that particular topic that I give you from scratch. So you're not going to have the opportunity to send me a draft. You're not going to have an opportunity to send a peer a draft. You're not going to have the opportunity to send Smart Thinking a draft, because you're going to have to write it at that moment. And you're going to have 1 hour to do it because the program will shut down once the time expires. And hopefully you've been saving it and checking it and proofreading it and editing, along, because if you don't save your work often and you don't upload anything, once the time limit expires, that's it. So if you send something blank, it's going to grade it as a, automatically 0, sort of like the whole deal with the Blackboard for regular essays. So you want to be mindful of that. Again, we will talk a little bit more about the ProctorU final as it gets closer. All right. So send me if you have any issues or concerns, or if you want me to check any of these pronoun antecedent assignments or any of the subject verb agreement assignments, just to make sure that you're on the right track for quiz 2 in a couple weeks. Please do so. So shifting gears here, and again, if you looked at the other video, I'm not going to go through necessarily that whole topic. But I did upload a video yesterday that sort of details Essay 3 a little bit more. Remember, Essay 3 needs to be 4 pages or 1,000 words. So when I mean 4 pages or 1,000 words, that's all I want. Nothing more, nothing less. So if it's 2 pages, guess what? And you're short. You need to add 2 more pages. If it's 600 words, guess what? You're short. You need to add some more. You need to add 400 more words. So when I really say 4 pages or 1,000, because that's what the instructions say, that's really what I want. I don't want 7 pages and I don't want 3 pages. I want 4 or 1,000 words. Some of y'all are losing points, not just because of the format issue that I discussed that in the other videos. So go back and look at that or watch that if you're still having issues with MLA format. But some students are just having issues with following the basic instruction of the assignment. They give me 2 pages when it needed to be 3. They gave me, 7, like 620 words when it needed to be 750 words. Some folks didn't read the email about how to quote lyrics, how to do the works cited page, and I sent that stuff in email on 9/11 basically. And that's what I said in the comments when I sent back some of your rough drafts last week. I said, hey, check your student email for 9/11. There's going to be a link there. It talks about poetry, but poetry and music lyrics are basically one and the same. So that's telling me that some students just didn't download that rough draft that I basically told you, hey, this is how you're going to make your A if you go back and correct this stuff, and nobody downloaded it and corrected it. So their grade wasn't an A. It could be a C or lower at this point. Some folks just gave me 2 pages instead of 3. So obviously that's not going to be a high grade because they didn't follow instructions. And that was one of the main points I made in the comment section when I sent their draft back. So please follow instructions. Please download your rough drafts when I send them back, because I'm basically giving you the answers to the test. I'm telling you what you need to fix. You fix it, your grade improves. You don't fix it, your grade, it's just going to decrease. So work smarter, not harder here. Some professors won't give you the chance to send multiple drafts. They don't really care about the drafts. And that's really, that's, to me, I think that's kind of sad and poor, because what happens is students wait until the last minute and they turn their first draft into their final draft, and it's a bunch of crap. I mean, let's be honest. Our first draft of anything is not going to be great. And then when that instructor reads that first draft as the final draft, they're looking at it, it's like, man, this thing is all riddled with a bunch of stuff. It's messed up. It doesn't make any sense. It's incoherent. And they wonder why a class set of essays, instead of having a lot of A's and B's, has C's, D's, and F's. It's because that instructor didn't encourage the whole deal with sending multiple drafts. That's the point. It's to help you work through the writing process. Good writing, as good grades go, take time. I mean, you're not going to write the perfect essay in one setting. You're not going to write the perfect A paper 2 hours before it's due. It's just not going to happen. So please, when I give you 2 weeks or 3 weeks to send me drafts, I really want you to send drafts, especially if you care about your grade and your GPA. I'm not just sitting here blowing smoke up people's butt about it. I'm just saying, we're grown adults. If you care about your grade, if you care about your GPA, if you care about your financial aid, and you want to continue receiving all that for this semester, next semester, and beyond, then, if you don't like where your grade is at, then you need to make the change. You either need to start sending me drafts, coming to tutoring sessions, sending stuff to Smart Thinking, or, otherwise the grade is not going to change for you. It's not going to get any better. If anything, it's going to, continue to decrease, which nobody wants. But if you don't want to help yourself, because I'm giving you the answers to the, the test basically, when it refers to correcting your paper, then there's not much I can do for you. It's sort of like you can lead the horse to water, but you can't force him to drink. Well, I can give you all the comments in the world on your paper. If you're not willing to download it and change it and send me drafts back, then there's nothing I can do. Right? You just have to sort of suffer with your whatever you're making on your grade. But if you look here, this is an outline I made about an hour or so ago. And again, we're dealing with causes and effects. That's our genre. We're not doing a narrative, so don't tell me a story. We don't need a story. We're not really getting heavy too much in the description area, meaning you can still kind of mix and blend narrative and description into this paper, But again, I don't want to read another essay 1 or essay 2 because this is essay 3. The genre that we're looking at and doing and trying to master is causes and effects. So if you look, I just randomly picked a topic because, everybody can kind of relate to stress. We have stress in the workplace. We have stress at school. We have stress at home. We have stress in relationships. We have stress, day-to-day stress. So my topic was causes and effects of stress. So I sort of have an outline here, and I'm going to show you that here in a minute that I will send out probably later today. And what you could do is you can find 3 causes of stress. And I just randomly, chose this because this is what a lot of folks have as causes of stress. So cause 1 is financial problems. Cause 2 is work. Cause 3 is parenting. With that, I provide 3 examples for cause 1, cause 2, cause 3. As you can tell here, being afraid to answer the phone or mail. Well, why? Well, because if you don't have a lot of money coming in and you owe bills, bill collectors, they're going to start giving you phone calls all day and the night, and they're going to be sending you mail, right? If you're overdue on a cable bill, if you're overdue on your cell phone, if you're overdue on a medical bill, they're going to keep calling and pestering you and harassing you until you answer the phone or reply to that mail. They're just going to keep calling and sending mail until you pay them off, right? Feeling guilty about spending money on crap. And what I mean by that is you get a paycheck, and instead of buying the necessities and taking care of bills, you go out and you buy big screen TVs when you don't really need a big screen TV. What's more important, food on the table or that big screen TV? Or you go out and get new rims for your car. When you have kids at home that need diapers and milk and food on the table, what's more important? Those fancy new rims on that 1996 Toyota Corolla, or is it providing for your family? Arguing with loved ones about money. If your wife is doing really well, she's bringing in and trying to keep up with the finances of the house, but you are spending money on big screen TVs and rims, and that contributing, well, you're going to start arguing with folks. There's going to be some problems in that relationship, and vice versa. If the wife's out, going to the salon every day, or buying lottery tickets every day, or buying alcohol every day, whatever the case may be, if you don't have a lot of money coming in, but the money you do have coming in, you're spending on a bunch of other stuff that's not really important in one's life, you're going to start having some issues, right? It's going to cause some stress. So this would be one particular paragraph, cause 1. And as you can tell, I put here A through C, and both causes and effects are examples and issues you need to discuss fully in each body paragraph. So if you're worried about how you're going to get multiple paragraphs, or that 4 pages or that 1,000 words, this is one way that you're going to need to do it. You're going to need to list examples and issues and talk about those when it relates to the cause 1, the cause 2, the cause 3, like I do here. Now, your second paragraph deals with the effect of cause 1. And if you look, the cause 1 is financial problems. So what's the effect of that? Well, the effect could be depression, right? If you're starting to receive all those phone calls and that mail day in and day out for long periods of time because you don't have the money to pay the stuff, you're going to get depressed because you don't have money, right? You want to pay them, but you can't. They may be calling and getting sort of angry with you, or threatening to take you court, or threatening to put a lien on your house or take your car, whatever the case may be. I mean, it's going to get depressing over time. You could have anxiety. After you start spending the money that you do have on big screen TVs and video games, you're going to start getting anxious and say, well, maybe I could have paid that cable bill because I had enough money, but then I had to go out and get that new video game from GameStop. It's going to cause, that's going to add to your depression. And then eventually you're going to have relationship difficulties, especially if you're engaged or if you're married. If one person in that relationship is pulling their weight and you're not, um, over time, it's gonna cause a split in the relationship because they're not gonna want to stay with somebody that can't pull their own weight. If they're constantly late on bills or the lights and the water are constantly getting shut off because you're responsible for the water and light bill or the gas bill, and you can't pay it because you're spending it on big screen TVs, Game Stops, and rims, or whatever the case may be. So the boyfriend and the girlfriend, or husband or wife, they're going to want to split, right? They're going to either want a divorce, or they're going to want to go find somebody else that can help them out. It's going to cause some issues. Cause 2, work. Problems with personal relationships. So that could, again, stem back to problems at home with your significant other, with your kids, with other family members, with coworkers, with your boss. Diminished creativity and initiative. Well, if you have financial stressors, going to work is just only going to make that probably a little bit more challenging because if you don't like your job or you don't feel like you're getting treated properly or getting the right pay for your job, well, you're going to just stop caring after a while. Especially if you see other people that's maybe just showing up and you've been there for a little bit, but because they got a degree or something, they're starting to move on up the ladder and getting more money. That's just going to make you more depressed and anxious about the future, especially at that particular company. And that could cause increased sick days, right? Whether you're sick or not, you may well just want to play hooky and just take a couple days off. Want to go to the beach, want to go fishing, want to go to the bar. All things related to work, but also all things maybe related to the financial stressors too. And then we have effect 2, which would be your 4th paragraph here. Could lead into inappropriate behavior, not only at work, but also at home. Obviously, poor decision making, right? If you don't feel like you're being valued at work, you're going to make some poor decisions. Some could be physical or mental. Some could be financial poor decisions, and low morale. You're going to bring that low morale issue to work, and you're probably going to bring it home. It's just going to be that cloud that hangs over your head and continuously gives you rain and a bolt of lightning in the butt a few times throughout the day. But until you change your mindset, you're never going to get out of that funk. And then we have cause 3. So now if you're counting, cause 1 is body paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4. Cause 3 is paragraph 5. And it could be, let's say, parenting, right? Household duties. If you're mother or father, everybody's got some kind of duty at house that they have to do. Obviously, raising children, especially if you got more than one. Marital tensions, again, sort of going back to the whole deal with relationship difficulties as it relates to the financial stress. Body paragraph 6 would be effect 3, social withdrawal, where if you're having to do a lot of household duties, you're not going to be going out so much. Disruptive and aggressive behaviors, that could be, vice versa, you or the children. And feelings of rejection, well, that can come more or less to your status with your significant other. So right there, and you can kind of keep going on if you feel like that this 6 body paragraphs. If you have a introduction, that's paragraph 7, and a conclusion, that's paragraph 8. If you think 8 paragraphs won't give you the 4 pages or 1,000 words, then just add another cause 4, effect 4, so on and so forth. But I use this as an example because I'm going to take these and sort of flesh out my outline. So this is how my outline will look. And I'm not going to go into too much detail here because, again, in about 15 minutes, I have another virtual tutoring session with my 1102 group. But I will send this out in case you need it or want it. So you have your introduction. You're going to have your hook. Kind of tells you what the hook is. It's usually that first sentence that sort of brings your audience in. You want to give a little bit of background on your concept being studied. So my concept being studied here is going to be stress. So generally, I'm just going to be talking about stress, just a generalization of stress. That's why I say don't give me too much info because you don't want your introduction to be 3 pages long. Your introduction really should be a half a page. And half a page would give you anywhere from about 7 to 10 sentences, I think. Anything longer than that, you're probably going over the page and you need to cut something. Anything shorter than 7 sentences, you're probably not telling me much. So, because, in the last few essays, I have been seeing really skimpy introductions, like 2 sentences and that's it. That really doesn't tell me much. And that might be why your grade is suffering too, because you're not really giving me a decent thesis statement. If you look here at C, that's sort of the whole enchilada of not only your paper, but this particular paragraph. Your introduction, your last sentence of your introduction paragraph has to be your thesis statement. Your thesis statement is the main idea of the entire essay. It consists of the topic of the essay, the writer's claim about the topic that will be proven throughout the essay. This thesis usually appears at the end of the introduction, often as the last sentence, and lets the reader know what to expect. If you don't have a thesis statement, your essay is pretty much dead in the water before you even reach the first body paragraph, because you're not giving me any kind of a main idea or a reason to keep writing. You're writing for the sake of, he says I need to write 1,000 words at that point, because you don't really have a point. And your thesis statements now moving ahead are going to be more and more scrutinized, because you're going to have a really good, strong thesis statement when we start talking about that research paper. Otherwise, that research paper is going to be dead in the water. So make sure that your paper has a thesis statement in the last sentence of your introduction paragraph. If it doesn't, you need to make one. And a thesis statement means a statement, means it ends in a period, not a question. You're not giving me a thesis question. The thesis statement should be one full, grammatically correct sentence. You're not giving me a thesis paragraph, or you're not making your thesis statement into 4 sentences. It has to be one clear, to the point, concise sentence. Again, if it's not that, you need to go back and rework it, because your paper's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to make any sense. It's going to basically, about that point, the highest grade you could probably make is a C or lower. That's if everything else is on point and you don't have any other mistakes. Generally, essays that don't have a thesis statements are usually D or F papers. So I just kind of throw that out there and let you know. Double check your introduction. Make sure it has a thesis. And then if you look, body paragraph, cause 1, provide examples. Make sure that each one of your body paragraphs, that first sentence, is your topic sentence. I'll go through and talk a little bit more about topic sentences here. We talked about topic sentences week 1 and week 2. This is really stuff that you should have learned 2nd and 3rd grade. This should all be reviewed when it relates to writing papers, as it relates to an introduction, as it relates to body paragraphs, as it relates to conclusions, as it relates to thesis statements, as it relates to topic sentences, as it relates to conclusion sentences, because your last sentence of each paragraph needs to be a concluding sentence. And for each one of your multiple body paragraphs, because you're going to have more than 3, you're going to repeat B through D that I basically list here. So when we look, body paragraph 2 is going to be effect 1. As I say here, cause 1 equals effect 1. Body paragraph 3, cause 2. Body paragraph 4, effect 2 of stress. So cause 2 equals effect 2. Body paragraph 5, cause 3 of stress. Body paragraph 6, cause 3 or effect 3 of stress. Cause 3 equals effect 3. And then conclusion. And again, if you don't feel like you have enough, then what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to keep going and put body paragraph 7. And by doing this is actually getting you kind of used to writing multiple paragraphs, because you're going to need to do that when it comes to all the other essays from here on out. So you'd have effect 4 of stress, or cause 4 in this case. Cause number 4. And then, since you have a cause number 4, then you would have to have an effect number 4. So body paragraph 8 would be your effect 4, so on and so forth. So you may have to do more than what I have here as it relates to your body paragraph, because you want to get that 1,000 words or 4 pages. Now, if you get to the bottom of a page 3 and you're at 1,000 words and you said everything that you need to say, stop. If you get to the bottom of page 3 and you haven't completed everything that you needed to say and you only have 975 words, then you need to go to page 4. It's just as simple as that. Make sure you have a conclusion. So if you follow an outline, it doesn't necessarily have to be set up as mine. Again, I did this and I got to work, a little after 7:30. I started checking emails and I was like, yeah, you know what? Today I'm going to give them an outline to show them how to do an outline if they're not doing one. If you didn't do an outline for Essay 1 or Essay 2, chances are it pretty much shows in your grade. Because outlines help. It helps you stay focused on the task at hand, what you want to put in paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, so on and so forth. I would strongly suggest, if you didn't use an outline for Essay 1 and Essay 2, that you start using outlines from here on out. It just make your life a lot easier. It'll make your essay more organized, more coherent, more to the point. It will keep you on track. It will help you probably finish a lot sooner and faster, so you can start sending me in smart thinking drafts. But I would definitely use an outline for your particular topic to really get started with this one. And like I said, if you want a copy of this, send me an email and say, hey, I want a copy of that outline. I want to try to, not necessarily use my same topic here, but you would like to, modify your topic into my outline, and that's fine. But like I was getting at, I came, checked the email, I picked the topic. I just randomly picked stress because, like I said, everybody suffers from that at some point. And then I started doing this. So everything here, outline, everything took me about 30 minutes to do, if that. So if you can get an outline down, and of course there might be some issues here. I have to go back and tweak and do some stuff because I was just putting it down because I knew that we had this tutoring session at 9. So I was kind of I was stressing a little bit to get stuff down. So, but 30 minutes for this, I mean, this is not bad because you can always add or take away from it. But you really need an outline. An outline will help you. I'm going to go ahead and end it there because I do have another session here in about 5 minutes. Again, send me any emails or questions or drafts. Like I said, I should have most of your essays, Essay 2 graded by, like I said, this time next week, if not sooner. So keep checking Blackboard for that. I hope you have a great Tuesday and the rest of week 6. I hope that goes well for you as well. I will send out invites and stuff for another tutoring, virtual tutoring session for next week as it gets closer to next week. Hope everybody has a great day. Thanks.